I'm Will Hedrick.
And I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this is Dog Ears and Timestamps, a Game of Thrones podcast.
And the bells. Dude, the bells. That's what this is called?
Yeah, that was the episode title
bells.
This week.
Man, I did not like this episode at all.
It finally fell off.
Yeah, no,
Jordan
this one was bad.
finally gave up.
Yeah, this one was, dude, it was just disappointing around every corner. Like, when, right off the bat, just how we killed Varys, and then just, I didn't mind Varys dying. I didn't even mind him dying because he's a traitor and treason and stuff. I was cool with all that. But just, if I had a treasonous person, I wouldn't let my hand say goodbye to him. You know what I mean? They just, they had so much...
It's
because
there
was so much theater there, and it's I don't care. I mean, if they're best friends, I don't know. I hated. It was just it was so drawn out, and as it was going on, I was like, "There's no way they're gonna kill him because this is too drawn out and dramatic and over the top." And then he just, I don't know, man. It was just disappointing the whole time.
Yeah.
What'd you think? Sorry.
It was fine. I mean, so I've been off the wagon for a season and a half already, anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I can be more indifferent towards it. I don't even think that I'm negative about it. I just think that I'm critical because I don't care anymore.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if other people were disappointed in this episode, I'm just like, yeah, well, the whole season's been this way, man. All of last season has been this way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, there's still so much hope with how it was going to play out, and then just everything this episode was so. It just felt cookie cutter and plain Jane and Hollywood and just I don't know, I've seen it 1,000 times before. It just didn't feel very Game of Thrones, you know? It felt just...
Well, that's how the last now 15 episodes have been.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Every now and then it kind of, there was one little thing that popped out that was oh, they're back, you know? But this whole episode was just, there wasn't anything really that I was just super duper happy about. I wanted Arya to get revenge, even though the whole lesson was about revenge being bad. Because the Hound ends up dying to get his revenge.
Right, yeah.
And Arya probably would have died if she went to go kill Cersei because Cersei got crushed by the castle.
We assume.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's no other way to interpret that. Obviously, her and Jaime must be dead,
no,
right?
That's a good point, though.
But it would not be the most surprising thing that's happened for, a final or one of the last 3 shots of the series to just be them on a boat or something. You know?
I actually did the part where Tyrion kind of ran over to Jaime and he's like, "Hey,
get out of here!"
Yeah, get out and get Cersei. And
I would have accepted
I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool. I thought that was brotherly, and he finally got the chance to be the hero because Jaime, I think, did that for him. Yeah, no, he did. So
whenever he killed Tywin, it would definitely be. I mean, that part was fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, I like that.
I think I would have accepted Jaime and Cersei making a break for it and, starting a new life. I would have accepted that only because that would have been that would have been fallen in line with everything else that they've been doing so far in the show for the past season and a half. But it's definitely not within Cersei's nature to do something like that. So I never thought that plan was going to work whenever Tyrion was trying to get Jaime to do it. I was like, well, obviously that's not going to happen.
No, that's fair.
But I was also still, working under my assumption that Jaime might kill her. And so I thought that, they would get, what I thought might happen if, Jaime wasn't acting like he had lost a leg instead of a hand and took forever to get to the fucking castle and couldn't get in. What I thought was going to happen was that he might get there, try to be like, we got to do this. We can leave. Tyrion has set up an avenue for us to get out.
Yeah.
And Cersei would be like, I can never trust Tyrion to do something for me. And then be like, BT dubs, Jaime, I'm burning this city to the ground. And then be like, give Qyburn the order to set off the dragon fire. And then, and then Jaime's literally going to do the exact same thing he did to Arya. Cause that's been,
that was a good
not
theory.
even just my theory, but a lot of people's theories was that Jaime would see the monster that she had become and be like, I have to stop you from doing what I stopped Arya from doing.
Yeah.
But then, of course, none of that happened. So
Dude, I thought he died when he got stabbed through the lung twice.
Yeah,
just like how
right.
just like how if I stabbed an animal with a an arrow, I guess, like that's pretty much what he did. He got him through each side. It looked like he got him in the lung, but I guess he didn't. He probably just got him in some guts.
There are a lot of organs that can take a lot of damage before you die.
Right, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely like him being able to then climb up what in the book, whenever Tyrion escapes, is like several miles of ladders.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, man, good for you, Jamie. You killed it getting up to, the war room.
Oh God, dude! Just every little ladder step was a little bit of blood, and
right?
Like, oh God.
Which that was also a stupid and absolutely needless and pointless fight, was him and Euron.
Yeah.
Except for just like us seeing Euron die, which we could have also seen Euron die whenever Dany torches his ship. Like,
which would have been cool if
they were
the
just
dragon had gotten
if
him.
they were just going to kill off Euron for no reason, or like in a totally needless way, then they should have had Dany do it.
Yeah,
that would have made more sense. It would have potentially given Euron like some level of honor, like he goes down with his crew or something like that.
Yeah, like even though with the ship,
even though like we've been saying for that he's just chaos. He's just there to stir everything up and make things crazy.
I guess those ballistas on the boats were only good in a surprise attack.
Right, yeah.
She dodged every single bullet.
Yeah, it did not matter the second time around.
Yeah, I was like, weren't they shooting really fast last time? I was like, it was like a machine gun.
Yeah.
Last time. And this episode, it was just so slow.
They only work as well as the plot needs them to work.
Right, yeah.
That's all fair. It is. There's only... So there's only 3 things that I can tell that they care about anymore. One is just getting to the end. Like Kenneth had said 2 weeks ago, like they know what the end is and now they're just racing to get there.
No, that's a fair observation.
The second thing is they feel like they have to give every character their ending.
And they have to kind of make every character like give them some kind of retribution. Even at the end, like I was watching it with Bailey and she's like, "Oh, I kind of like Cersei now." I was like, "What? You fucking hated her for the entirety of this show, and now you kind of like her because she seems human, because she's crying."
She finally has a moment of weakness.
Yeah,
and it's the same revisionist, opinion stuff that for the same reason people like Theon.
Yeah,
like, Theon's awful and deserved everything that happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
But because it happened to him, people forgive him.
I don't even think
because they see him weak and humble.
I don't even think in the book he makes up for it. I think he fails and I think in his chance for retribution he betrays.
Yeah, so far as I remember, he continues to make the wrong decision or to just fail, and he never gets anything
Which
back.
Seems like the most realistic thing. Like, why would
it's more
they
fitting,
turn noble?
In my opinion, yeah. Suddenly he's noble and he gets this place of honor and being able to guard Bran, and he dies by the Night King, the only person that we see the Night King kill himself.
Yeah.
And so they're obsessed with giving every character their ending and the completion of their arc, and they get to have their last moment with all the people that we wanted to see them with, like Arya and the Hound. And then the third thing is they are determined to make Arya the most badass character.
Oh, dude, yeah, they almost killed her so many times last episode. It was just frustrating. I guess they were trying to make us realize how crazy it was in the city, but I don't know. Right.
It's just it's so much of it is so transparent, which is something I've been repeating this whole season, and it's whatever. From the standpoint of already being off the wagon, I think that this episode was fine. Yeah. I think that it was probably the best of the season so far. For plot purposes, it was the most meaningful, and
it got the most happened, but I guess it was just kind of disappointing that it all just happened kind of cliche, like Cersei and Jaime presumably just died in the castle, Varys was just slain by the dragon, Daenerys went crazy after already winning the war, and then just very obviously, Jon is, the super good guy now, it's it's just so obvious, I don't know, there's not even, a bit of, a gray area in between, oh, well, maybe she would have been a good queen. It's, now it's just, no, she sucks. Right. Jon's the only one for us.
Well, they spent, a full 60 seconds of the previously on with literally every mention of mad Targaryens from the entire show.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fair.
So that's and you had been saying the whole season, they're obviously setting Dany up to be the bad person at the end. And, you know, where it was like pretty like obvious, or we felt safe in making that assumption in the beginning, since like the last half of last episode and now obviously all of this episode, that was like it couldn't have been more transparent if it was written on glass.
Oh yeah, I didn't think she would just literally start killing all the people after they surrendered, and killing literally just all the city folk that couldn't care less who's ruling. Like they're gonna be in Flea Bottom no matter what. Like they don't give a fuck who's in charge. So let me just kill them. It was just I don't know. It just, after a certain point, I guess when she saw everything and she got there, she's like, this isn't what I wanted after all. Let me just burn it all to the ground and rule the ashes, which is what...
The catalyst is supposed to be that Missandei died, you know?
I guess,
and so it's just like... Well, because Missandei was killed in such poor faith, you know? Like, it was a prisoner that you had, and it was supposed to be like your bargaining chip from Cersei's point of view, and then she just kills Missandei, so then Dany, who was giving her, like, one last chance to surrender and one last chance to do it peacefully... and then watches her kill, you know, her best friend or whatever, then Dany's just like, okay, well, fuck everything. Yeah. And that's supposed to, I guess, be, like, our final straw for her. But then also, you know, like I've been saying, that's the only thing that she ever cared about was becoming queen. She only cared about things that were right in front of her. She cared about the slaves because they were right in front of her. Right. She only ever cared about her birthright. And now the thing that's right in front of her is the person that killed her best friend. So that's what she's going to do. Like, nothing matters. Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I mean, it's just nothing does matter, it seems like. So, I mean, she kind of burned it all. It looked like she just burned the castle down, at least half of it.
She basically burned the whole damn city down. She was like mowing the yard, man. She was doing it on a grid. Like, she knew what she was doing. Like
she was in the grid system. Like the dragon was shooting fire down the alleys.
Yeah. She was just going like street by street at a point, it seemed like. There was a lot of... I think they blew all their budget on this episode because, and from like a cinematography standpoint, there were some of the better shots were in this episode. Everything with the dragon was really cool.
Oh yeah, those were all cool shots.
Cersei walking around the war room with, you know, the floor is the map of the Seven Kingdoms and her whole world is crumbling down around her. Yeah, that was on the map that, you know, because the Seven Kingdoms, like I still think, are going to be fractured at the end of this. That was pretty significant.
Yeah, and symbolic, and I bet they had a video tech like boner, like they're just like, yes, dude, this is awesome.
Euron's death was like one of the better like cinematography, like shots, like, you know, cinematographically, whatever that word might be, I don't know. Yeah. It was, I don't know, he just had really good lighting and the shot was just really nice looking.
I kind of thought it was funny how just like at the end he was just like, I'm the one who killed Jaime Lannister.
He's also the only one who knows that. Like, and he doesn't even care. Like, just he knows that he's the one who killed Jaime Lannister.
And technically, I'm pretty sure the dragon did because
when the how technically how technical do you want to be?
I mean, I guess he would have died no matter what from his wounds, but it's like
But he's just he's such a like an agent of chaos, and he's so prideful and only cares about his own accomplishment and what he gets to do.
Yeah, he lost everything. All his shit.
All that he ever wanted to do was just do everything that he could. It didn't even matter that anybody else knows that he killed Jaime Lannister. He did it. You know?
Yeah, dude. It just for him, it seemed like he would have just like stayed and waited for Dany to be on the throne, and then he would have like gone up and tried to seduce her. Like that seems almost more in line with his character.
He certainly might have tried
to kill Jaime.
I think that it certainly would have depended on how everything ended, which you could say about anything. But
you could you could do anything with it.
Like I thought that maybe if like the battle turned sideways for, you know, the Lannisters, that maybe Euron would see what had happened, and if he still had even a ship, he would have just fucked off. He would have just been like, all right, well, I'm going to go do other stuff. This obviously is not going the way we wanted it to.
So what do you think the Mountain was? Do you think he's like just a zombie, or like...
I think he was just what the showrunners needed him to be for the sake of shock and drama. Yeah. Because...
they're just not going to tell us what he was.
So like, he was brought back by some sort of like science-y shit that Qyburn did, right? Yeah. Presumably no magic, because that's what the Citadel isn't magic. Mm-hmm. And Qyburn has, you know, not ever had any hint of magic in the things that he said, talking about like how he didn't say science, but it was like taking science to the next level that the Citadel wasn't ready for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's some sort of science that, whatever, can't be explained because it doesn't even exist in the real world either. But with all of the, like, he gets stabbed through the fucking brain and still is able to do stuff and all that, that was just for the fact of making it like a, oh my god thing, Yeah. Like, the only thing that could possibly end him would be if the Hound took him through the wall into the fire.
Right, that'd be like when they kill Cell in Dragon Ball Z. It's like, you have to destroy every little bit of him.
Right, back. It's to vaporize.
Yeah. That's kind of the vibe I got. Because, like, the second the knife went through his head, I was like, well, also, he couldn't see, so it was kind of like, well, what do we do now?
Right.
But, I don't know.
There's no answers because there was never any intention of having an answer for any questions.
I did like
it was just like, let's make this as dramatic as we can so that it's got the most shock value and, the most like, ooh, ah, because this is Clegane Bowl. Mm-hmm. This is what everybody's been waiting for ever since we decided we liked Sandor.
Right.
And so let's make it as big a spectacle as we possibly can, even in the small space that they had it. And then we can end it by killing both of them.
Yeah. I mean, that made pretty good sense, honestly. Them, like, the only way that he could
It could have only ended that way.
Yeah. I mean, there was nothing left for the Hound after that anyway.
Yeah, that was his whole existence, was to someday kill his brother. And he said that multiple times throughout the entire show.
Yeah. So he stayed true to his character.
The most Game of Thronesy thing that has happened this entire season, and will probably remain to be the most Game of Thronesy thing through next episode, is the way that Qyburn dies.
Dude, that was awesome. I loved that.
Because he was such...
smacked him.
Yeah. His only purpose, and we've talked about this already, his only purpose was just to, like, be an agent for Cersei and to do, like, the dirty things that nobody else was willing to for the sake of progressing Cersei's storyline. And, like, he doesn't seem to have any motivation, like we talked about maybe last week, and, blah, 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 blah.
His motivation was definitely...
So he was basically a meaningless character. No one cared about him. He had no motivation to follow, except to follow Cersei because she gave him the resources to do his, like, weirdo shit. And so him to just die like he's nothing was perfect for his character. And the way that Game of Thrones has done things before. Like, everybody had an appropriate death. Or... I guess maybe a couple people that we thought were important died relatively quickly, but there was still poignant, like the Viper, kind of died very suddenly and unexpectedly, but it was poignant. Ned died very suddenly and unexpectedly, but it was, done in front of the entirety of King's Landing as an execution, so it was poignant. Yeah. But Qyburn was just like... 3 people saw him die. Right. And it did not matter at all. It was perfect. It was
one of them was a zombie.
Yeah.
Killed him, so.
It was and then Cersei was just like, well, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shuffle
I'll see
on
you
by.
guys later. You guys have fun. That was pretty funny.
That was the most Game of Thronesy moment for this entire season.
I liked that one, and then how they killed the dragon out of nowhere with the ballistas. But then the next episode, when the ballistas don't work at all, like even like Nick the Wing, like she just came out of that fight flawless.
The ballistas existed for the sole purpose of evening the odds, which weren't even odds, because immediately Dany's army eviscerates the entirety of Cersei's army. Yeah. There's not... And we'll get some bullshit numbers maybe at the end of it all whenever they're going over some stuff, depending on how long it takes to kill Dany. Where somebody will, maybe they try to make it seem like Dany's side lost more than it seemed. But the way that everything looked, it made it out to seem like Dany's maybe still at 80% strength, whereas Cersei's at literally 0% strength. Like, there's not a Lannister alive. There's not anybody in the Iron Fleet alive.
Yeah, if we said Dany left, like, Winterfell at, like, say she's back at 100%, like, even if it was 50% of what her original army was, she's now at 100% because it's a new fight. She probably did only lose, like, 20% of her army. Like, it really didn't seem like she lost anybody.
No. Yeah, it made it seem like they were
people she lost are the ones we saw die. Yeah. Like, Clegane.
Because nobody could take down the dragon, and the dragon was incredibly effective without the ballistas to stop it. The scorpions is what they call them in the show.
Yeah. Scorpions.
So it was just such a pointless plot point to kill Viserion, or the green one, whatever. I think it's Viserion. I can't remember. Whatever. John's dragon. It was such a pointless plot point. And because like I said, the whole thing was like they're showing them like even the odds, and now what's going to happen at this fight. Well, we spend it was probably like 35-40 minute fight in total, but it was 35-40 minutes of Dany's army literally just rolling over King's Landing.
In the way that like she just flew in with one dragon and just wrecked shop, it's like she could have done that from the beginning. It's like she could have done that like at least 2 seasons ago, like when her dragon was big enough to like, well, when she took over the Unsullied army or whatever with her dragon, like her 3 dragons, it seemed like maybe a year after that she could have flown to King's Landing and just like, and just won.
Right.
But especially if that's how she was just going to end it.
It would be interesting to go back and see if there was any difference in the size of the dragons, like if they took care to animate that properly. Because if coming over to Westeros, if they still... Because when they're crossing the sea, they're still pretty small, right?
Yeah, that one was still on like a chain and it lit that dude on fire, Like
whenever they killed the Masters to get the Unsullied, they were still very small.
Season 2.
And then coming over the ocean to Westeros, I feel like they had gotten big enough that they could fly on their own, and they did show several times with them like flying out over the ocean and stuff.
But they weren't too big to land on the ship. They still had to lay.
I feel like the first time we see them be huge was Saving Jon. Because they're sizable whenever Jaime fights one like on the Trident, right, or at Riverrun or wherever the hell that was.
Yeah,
and they were big, but I don't remember thinking, "Holy shit, they're big." And now Drogon is like, "Holy shit, he's big."
Yeah, when did Dany first ride one?
Whenever she escapes from that Colosseum or whatever, something. Oh, she had gotten captured by the not Rogue Dothraki, but a different clan. Because Khal Drogo was dead or something like that. Yeah. And then Jorah goes to rescue her, and there's some fight like in this Colosseum setting. And then the dragons come in like unbidden, like they knew Dany was there, and that was supposed to be like symbolic of connection or whatever. And then Dany gets on. I remember we were watching it at your house after a party, and we were all sitting there like, "Get on that dragon! Get on that dragon!" And she got on the dragon, we all screamed. Because we had all been waiting for that for so long.
Dude, yeah, they made... man, that's disappointing just for her to have been, like... I guess she didn't die, so she still has a plot point. Like, she still is probably one of the most... Not probably...
Well, because they had to turn her into the villain.
Characters. Yeah. She was a heroine for the most of the story until just this last episode. She turned villain. Or truly villain, probably, it seems.
Yeah.
But we kind of had our suspicions.
Yeah.
What do you think's left?
Kill Dany. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah. However, that turn happens, like, do they decide to spend time in the aftermath of the fight and everybody's, like, milling around the Red Keep or what's left of it? Kind of like, it's awkward because everybody's like, dude, Dany, you're like a crazy Targaryen. Is she, like, solidifying power? Do we get any, like, bureaucracy where people are, like, trying to figure out what happens next, blah, blah, blah. But then in the shadows... Tyrion's like thinking like, holy shit, I picked the wrong side. Like, how much of that happens first, and then because the whole last scene of Arya walking through the Pompeii-esque like rubble and then finding Jaqen and Hagar come back as a horse. Like,
oh, is that what that was?
No, but that's like what the memes have been. It's like fucking somebody just like photoshopped his face on the horse.
That's so funny.
A man is a horse.
A man is a dude. That's so funny. That would have been. That's perfect. See, because Cole was telling me he thought it was Bran, and I was like, that's a pretty good idea.
That would be super duper interesting and would finally make Bran.
That's
worthwhile.
What I was thinking. I was like, that's a good idea because where was Bran this whole episode?
I would love that, and I think I would love that just because now like a pseudo Stockholm syndrome where I'm just bought into anything interesting happening because nothing interesting has happened.
Really nothing interesting has happened. So when he said that, I was like, dude, that would be nice. I would like Bran to do something like save his sister.
He's got to do something. We spent too long following him in a sled for him to do absolutely nothing. Yeah,
for him to not kill the Night King and then his dope sister that like freaking dodged, like she never was threatened, which was... Arya seems to have like the best sort of like... If I hate to say, like, if I had to pick a storyline that I'd want to, like, if I had to pick one of the Stark's lines to go on, it seems like hers is probably my favorite.
She's, like bordering becoming a Mary Sue.
What does that
mean? So, a Mary Sue is a character that you write to just be good at everything because you wish that was you.
No, that makes sense. And that's exactly who she is. Because, like...
She's real close to becoming that.
Yeah, she's like the plot that I think... you wouldn't... I guess John's is okay, but, like, he gets stabbed, and he just like he has to just trudge through so much shit. It feels like all
he
the
definitely
time.
wouldn't want to live his life.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it seems on paper it's cool, like after the fact, like, and then like you definitely would want to meet him. And
Looking at
look
like
at the guy that did all this stuff,
right?
you know?
Yeah,
But
it's easy
Arya's
to
would be-
romanticize what he's gone through,
exactly.
but you wouldn't want to do it.
But Arya's was like, I mean, definitely hers is romanticized too. It sounds hard as fuck.
She's seen a lot of traumatizing things, and she's been through a lot of different things, but
she
nothing
goes through all the cool
truly awful has
she
happened to
goes
her.
through the cool training.
Aside from
like,
watching her father be beheaded.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
There was that like ambiguous amount of time that she was blind.
Yeah, I mean, she's on the run, which is kind of like, I don't know, like when I was a little kid, like I used to imagine like kind of running away and pretending like I was like not on the run, but like kind of like surviving on my own, you know?
Right.
I mean, it was just pretend. But like her doing it.
A lot of what she's been through was not nearly as visceral as what a lot of the other characters have been through.
Exactly. It seems more like anybody could have, not anybody, but it seems like, I guess you're right. Like the Mary Sue character, it seems like, well, I could do it because it's me, you know. Like,
right.
And I would be a faceless person, but I wouldn't. I would remember who I was.
Right. Yeah. She gets all the training of something that requires you to give everything up, and she didn't have to give any of it up.
She's Blade.
Yeah. 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 I think that. So yeah. But that last scene was so that we can see Arya now turn against Dany and have reason. Because like we were talking about last episode, she's kind of on the fence about Dany. She was like, we needed her for the last war, or for the Great War, to kill the Night King. Like, I get that.
I guess she is our queen.
We have no reason yet to know whether or not she's bad for the Seven Kingdoms. So she's kind of like on the fence, but still loyal to her family or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so now that she's seeing that Dany's just burning innocence, specifically the woman who tried to help her at one point when she was about to get trampled and stuff like that, and just to give her like a little, really small dog in the race or whatever.
That was kind of weird. It's like, why did they try to get us attached to that lady?
Yeah, it's just easy storytelling for getting Arya to have a personal stake in the destruction of Dany. Yeah. So now Arya kills Dany, right?
Oh, yeah. That seems like the most, like, probably the only thing. Like, I don't think Jon could do it.
Arya either kills Dany or dies trying, and then that galvanizes someone else to then do so. What has Sansa been doing this whole time? Because she's already against Dany. And what is Yara up to? Did Sansa go talk to Yara and be like, hey, we gotta stop all this. Or we gotta be ready for whatever it is that's going to happen.
Dude, yeah, you don't want to piss off those girls.
Because the Greyjoys are the bannermen for the Starks.
Yeah.
And Yara definitely, after having seen everything that has happened, probably knows her place better than most. Like, I need to just align myself with the Starks again. Go back to my house doing that.
Yeah. Man, like, that's a good point. Like, and Sansa is one of those, like, characters now. It's like, you don't want to piss off this chick. She's like red hot fire, like, just gonna destroy everything. And she loves Jon now. Like, she's totally cool with Jon. So, like, it just seems like the last episode. I mean, dude.
I think the obvious thing is that Sansa and Arya conspire to off Dany.
Yeah.
And then do so at some level of cost. And then Jon gets coerced into taking the throne because he has the best claim and is the most suited to do so.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the obvious thing. It's pretty like gross how easy that is.
Yeah.
But what else has Game of Thrones been doing the past 2 seasons?
Right.
That.
Yeah.
So who knows? Also, maybe everybody dies. That could still happen.
Yeah,
maybe Dany and Jon end up killing each other.
No, that it could. Yeah, it could be like
there's a couple of
Juliet,
turns that it could take. That who knows?
Dude, that's a good point. Yeah, because there's still the arbitrary ending too of it being like it's always going to be a game for the throne,
Right?
And because if Jon dies, that's what it'll be. It'll be like, look, and now it's always going to be a battle for the throne because everyone's going to like lay claim. Because then it would be Robert Baratheon's bastard kid that got legitimized by
but
he'd be the next one.
But then that would be like the conversation we had last week is who's left alive that would recognize that Dany had done that.
The only one that could would be Sansa, maybe, or Arya, maybe. But maybe Arya. But it's like
they don't have to recognize it. They'd be like, that was under the last tyrant Targaryen. why would we legitimize anything that she claimed?
But
so
then
Gendry doesn't necessarily have any stake in anything.
But it would be like, it would follow the lineage tier, wouldn't it?
Well, it could.
Yeah, but that would be, like we said last time, it would be such a stretch, though, and it would just, it's, man, I don't know. I mean, they got an hour and a half.
I think we've seen the last of Gendry. I don't think we see him again.
No, I don't.
There's no reason to see him again.
Yeah, he doesn't seem important. But Sam and Gilly, I mean, I thought Sam
we don't see them again. That was the whole reason that Jon spent that time saying goodbye to them, and we got Gilly's pregnant again, and that sort of stuff, because we're not going to see them again.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like at the end of the episode, if we get like sweeping shots across Westeros where we check in with other characters and just see like, how, just like a 5-second peek into what the rest of their life is supposed to be like,
I thought the whole wall came down, but I was watching the intro this time, and it was like only the little like...
Yeah, it was just that like, East Watch.
Yeah, just the one hole in the wall. I thought the whole thing came down, so I mean, it definitely seems like the Night's Watch could come back easy peasy.
Yeah, but there's nothing for them to watch.
Well, I mean, I don't trust the wildlings. I'm back to anti-wildling.
You gotta have some enemy. You're grasping for past Game of Thrones. Just give me old Game of Thrones back.
Yeah. Back when the wildlings were the bad guys. Back when things made sense. And everyone was a warg. Everyone was a warg. Back when we thought everyone was going to turn into their dog, and we're like, fuck yeah. And then everyone's dog died, and we're like, oh, dude, nobody got to do the cool thing. Except for the cripple who didn't get to do it for very long, and he got his brother's dog killed. God, dude, that was just so disappointing. Such a fun plot line. Like, oh, look, Bran and even Jon could maybe... And then they made it seem like Jon could skin change into the Raven and, like, other cool things.
It was
strange
that they put time into that plot point. Because... it being like a theory, because there's, a wolf for every child of the Ned Stark and blah, blah, and that could be kind of neat.
Great point. That was like the first episode, the thing that made it all like...
Right. And then it turns out that Jon's not his child, so part of that theory is out the window anyways. But, so, like, it certainly would have... It was a neat thing to speculate on and be like, oh, wouldn't that be cool if this happened? And then they started giving us clues about it, and you're like, oh, maybe it does happen. And then, in one of the more truer Game of Thrones fashions, kill off that because it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But they did put more effort into making us want it than... I mean, it just becomes like red herring stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fine because every story has that to a degree so that you don't focus on the stuff that will happen because then you're going to call the stuff that will happen. You have to have some misdirection.
And maybe he didn't know as he was writing. Maybe he thought it was going to be important and then it just didn't end up mattering.
Right,
because the characters
that sort of stuff happens. Certainly like whenever you're crafting something that's already so complicated.
Oh, yeah. And I know that's how Stephen King writes. He writes a book and he like, when he talks about it later, he's like, yeah, the characters kind of grew in ways I never saw. Like, as I was writing it, I feel like for writers and artists like that, it just, their worlds kind of just sort of create themselves, like, and they're just like a conduit for the other dimension almost, and they're just sitting there like throwing up that onto a paper, and then that's such not a pretty way to say it. But I think the way I said it before is better. Just like they kind of just, I don't know, like the characters grow and change like as they do too. So, I guess maybe it could have been, I like to think that it started off in his mind as something that might have been like super important and like mattered in the end, but then I guess it just didn't as the characters grew and developed, or maybe it was too hard to make it matter, or maybe, I mean, all in all, it just didn't matter, I guess. So it's because there were so many fan theories, like that's how Jon was going to survive. He was going to warg into Ghost for a while, like that's what a lot of people thought, and I mean, that still could be what happens, too, because that's, like...
We've seen the last of Ghost.
No, I know. I just mean that in the book, he's still dead.
Right, like that's true.
Like, that's the cliffhanger we're left on after book 5, and so, like, the big spoiler that we got is that we obviously know he comes back somehow. But that could be...
That might be the most egregious part of the show surpassing the books, is that has been spoiled. That was narratively for the books.
Yeah, because that was a huge
even if the last book comes out and it sucks for whatever reason, it still could have at least had the Jon reveal.
Yeah, but I mean, what were they going to do, I guess, right? Like, man, that put them in an awkward position. I bet they were just like, he'll finish. Like, he's predicted to finish in time. Like, I remember back in college, The Winds of Winter was supposed to come out like in 2012 or whatever.
Right,
like it was, and we're in 2019, and he's just like royalties.
Yeah, there's nothing that they could have done. It's just
I doubt he finishes writing it. I'm disappointed to say. I mean, like, who cares for him? Like, he's just
I bet he's done with it. He's just waiting until he dies to publish it because he doesn't want to hear whatever backlash fans have.
When you said that last week, that was a good point. That might be exactly what.
That's what I would do with the level of fame and public influence that this franchise has gained, and with everything that may be coming back, from the show and all that. He might just be like, I don't want to deal with what people have to say about my book. I'm just going to publish it when I'm dead, and fuck it.
Yeah.
Everyone can deal with it and fight each other about it. They can't fight me about it.
All the money will go to the Game of Thrones Foundation. I don't know what they would support, though. Rulers? I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of the authors, books, libraries. He's pretty into libraries.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Dude, I haven't been to a library in a long time.
Last time I went to a library was to vote.
Oh, nice. Did it smell like a library in there?
I didn't go into the library part. It was in one of the meeting rooms, adjacent to the library part. Just the building was where it was, And I didn't have to go through the library part to get to the meeting room. So,
So I mean, we're left off. John is sitting there watching the world burn. Dany is burning the world.
Right.
The war's ending. The main characters we have left really are Jon, Dany, Tyrion, Arya, Sansa, I guess. Bran. I don't know, man. Like, I
still don't think that Bran matters.
Yeah, the only thing he could have done is, I like to think is the horse, but
right. That would be it would at least just have given him like one thing that he did.
Right.
Even though it doesn't matter all that much, it just gave Arya a vehicle. Yeah, she would have gotten out anyways. They weren't going to let her die.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as characters that matter, like you said, we've just got Arya, Jon, Dany, Tyrion, Sansa. Mm-hmm. Those are the only people that matter anymore. There are other named characters that are still alive, like the Onion Knight, Yara Greyjoy, Bran. There might be Bronn, who ended up not mattering, I think, unless he kills Tyrion. Which doesn't make any sense because he's not going to get payment from Cersei because she's dead. So Bronn getting that job from Cersei and then meeting Jaime and Tyrion was one of the most egregious wastes of time aside from the second episode, just in general.
Yeah, dude, I didn't like anything to do with that scene.
Pointless.
It was so pointless. And what are you going to do? Kill one of those guys and then you're not going to get paid no matter what?
Right.
And you're going to threaten them and expect them to pay you when they win?
It's just so pointless. It's such a waste of time.
Yeah, dude, so what is he going to do? Come back and kill Tyrion? And then what will that serve? I guess, dude, that would be kind of
just
fun.
For the sake of doing it, which might be, that would be pretty Game of Thrones. If he was just he kills Daenerys. I think the only reason that he would come back would just to come back to kill Tyrion, just to be like, you know what? Fuck your whole family. All y'all done is fuck me up, so fuck you, and kills Tyrion. That would be, but I think that Tyrion might die anyways. Because Dany's going to find out that Jaime got loose.
Oh, true. And dude, my whole fan.
And she was like, if you fail me one more time, that'll be the last time you fail me. And so I think that Tyrion's going to die this next episode, which I was kind of expecting him to die.
He committed treason, little fucking bastard.
Right.
Just kidding.
Right.
No, he committed treason. Jon committed treason. They both deserve to die in the Queen's eyes. I
don't think Jon committed treason.
When he told everybody who he is,
he didn't.
She pinky promised him, and he broke.
He never agreed.
Well, she basically said, if you tell anyone, well, she kind of hinted don't tell anybody because that's betraying me, and I'm your queen. Later.
Yeah, but she didn't give him any express orders.
No, she
not
didn't.
That matters for her now that she's crazy.
Well, and he is the king, so I'm just kidding. She's like, okay, I recognize you're actually the king, so I'll listen to you. but don't tell anyone. I'll be quiet. Right. Do you think that they couldn't anytime they made out with each other, it was awkward because they realized they were related, or it was awkward because they just weren't in love anymore?
I think it was awkward because they know that they're related.
why would that matter at all, though? Like, dude, if I had like fallen in love with some super hot chick, and it was in the time in the world where people did that, and then I found out like that she was my aunt, but we were the same age, and we had already fallen in love. I don't think I would just fall out of love because like I found out she was my aunt. Like, the Targaryens always did that. I'd be like, oh, well, it makes sense that we fucking fell in love. Of course.
Well, they're still in love with each other, and they said so, even just this episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, it didn't seem like they were. I guess maybe I
think Jon feels awkward because I think Dany still wants it. And Dany doesn't care. Because in that scene is when we see the resolution that she's not going to rule, at least for the first part of her rule, through love. She's going to rule through fear. Because she says as much.
Yeah.
She says, no one here loves me. All I have is fear. Jon says, I love you. They try to kiss. Jon kind of pulls away. And Dany says, all right, it's fear then. So that's what that scene was about. But they do, I think that they, up until Jon sees Dany burning innocence, I think that, and even after that, he might still be like, I mean, you know, I was in love with her. I'm really conflicted about this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But his honor is going to, you know, have him do something different.
Sure, I'm conflicted that this crazy lady killed
So I think that, you know, what kills the spark is that they realize that they're related.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And that, I mean, and that is a thing that's frowned upon in the society. We saw Cersei get walked through the street naked while people threw shit at her because she had done that.
Yeah, but everybody else did it before her, so.
Marjorie Tyrell was also imprisoned by the church for allegedly doing so.
Yeah, that's that dude.
So, I mean, it is a thing that is frowned upon in the society.
Yeah. And the whole reason the Targaryens did it was because they were like, fuck your rules, we have dragons. You know?
Right, yeah.
So that was why it was cool, but it really wasn't even cool. Because nobody else
Just everybody else was afraid to say anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems there was never like a super chill Targaryen king, was there? Like, it was supposed to be Aegon, like the one that ended up going up to be the wall and becoming the...
There must have been decent ones here and there.
Yeah.
Because they ruled for how long?
Yeah, it seemed like at least
maybe at some point it gives us... Yeah, at some point it might have given us a number, but who knows? I certainly don't.
I don't know why I'm thinking 300 years, just so specifically like that.
But yeah, and even in that, that's 6 possibly generations of king, and queen. So one, if they flip a coin and the world holds their breath or whatever. So there must have been some of them that came out okay. Otherwise, the saying would have just been like, "They're all Targaryens are evil." Yeah,
yeah, dude, that was so funny when Varys said that to Jon. He basically was just like, "I don't give a fuck what you say about that shit."
And I
guess
that they're like out of time or whatever. So Varys is like, I don't have time to be as skillfully conniving as I have been this entire show. Mm-hmm. So I guess I can see the justification there. But for as smart and subtle as he's always been, for him to just go to the person and be like, hey, I want you to do it, was just kind of like, not to care. But at the same time, they're out of time. Yeah. They're literally on the doorstep of burning an entire city. So he's got to try and do something immediately. So I guess I kind of get it. Mm-hmm. But I don't, whatever. I can nitpick things like that, and that might not even deserve nitpicking. There are other things that do deserve nitpicking.
Like what? Tell me. I'm just kidding.
Like the fucking scorpion archers not being able to aim for shit all of a sudden.
Yeah, and shooting super slow now. I mean, they had just as many boats. It's not like she took any of them out last time.
Right.
They had just as many shots. And if they knew the dragon was coming... They should have totally been prepared for it, dude.
Well, I think that we are supposed to believe that because she gets up really high in the sky and then dive bombs. And Euron's like, oh, that's not a seagull, that's a dragon, And then she flies low and fast, which is commonly used in actual aerial combat tactics. So,
dang.
They tried to make it as believable as possible, or at least give us reasons to justify it.
That would be cool to hopefully it does get published and written. That'll be interesting. That'll be really cool to read that fight scene, like from her perspective. If we do get it from her, it's like just like flying through and like her connecting with her dragon and like the dragon knowing when to breathe fire and when to fight and do these barrel rolls. It's not like it's not like Drogon's doing this on his own without her there. Like, she's riding the dragon and like telling him.
Directing,
I assume,
like
directing in some way. Yeah. So that'll be interesting to read. I'd like to read that part. I feel like that'd be cool. Like, because that's something that I feel like is probably lost in the cinematic version. Just like their connection, kind of like how in Aragon, like I don't think that the dragon's going to be talking, to her literally like it does in Aragon, but I think that there's going to be some sort of like connection where like they don't even realize that they're two separate people. Like they feel like they're the same thing, It's something kind of written like that.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I think that she might definitely...
At
least she'll feel that, whether or not it's actually happening.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't think that she'll actually like skin change into the dragon.
Yeah,
I think that they'll be working so uniformly that that'll be a way that he could write it.
Right. Yeah.
It'll say that they're working so seamlessly and perfectly. Two peas in one pod. Is that it? There are only 2 peas in a pod?
Usually. No.
Aren't they like... for some reason, like the picture for a pod in my head has 3.
It probably depends on the species.
Right.
I don't know.
What else? Where else are we in the book? Like, or in the book, in this show? I mean, got 86 minutes left, man.
My biggest question right now is what's Sansa been doing? And what is her plan?
Yeah, she hasn't just been sitting there, I bet. Oh, do you think she's got a way to kill the dragon? Maybe she's talking to Bran about how to kill the dragon.
That would be so obnoxious if suddenly she had a new weapon too.
Or if she just took the old weapon. Like, let's just take their super big crossbow idea.
Right.
Yeah, dude, when you were saying, like, how does the king run out of money? I was like, that's a good point. You just tell them to do it.
Right.
You're the boss.
Right. If the resources are there and the need is present.
Yeah, I don't have to pay for this. I'm the boss.
Even if the craftsman was like, well, you have paid me for work in the past, you'd be like, well, there's a war on, so fuck you.
Yeah.
Do it or you die. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I think I know what's going to happen. But at the same time, I don't actually know. I can't count on this show to do anything really in any direction. I don't think. Maybe I still want there to be, like, a good ending. And by good, I mean quality. I don't think that there is any good endings. There's no happy ending in this situation. Unless they are, like, even more sellout than I thought they were. Because the good ending is they kill Dany and Jon sits on the throne. And Sansa is Warden of the North. And Arya becomes Spy Master?
She becomes the Master of Whispers. That would be cool. I like that. I like that new ending. Dude, if that even happened, though, I'd be sitting here complaining next week, just like, man, it's so see-through. We saw that coming a mile away. But, like, I freaking called it so wrong. My fan theory was off. But I wanted twists.
Well, I think, like we said,
I wanted twists and fun stuff and crazy.
Yeah, they've got to try and do something because,
they made it
like we said at the top of the show, the obvious ending is more or less what I described. Not Arya becoming Spy Master, but Arya, having a hand in killing Dany. Sansa was conspiratorial about it, and they forced Jon to take the throne. And because Jon didn't want the throne, he's the best suited to take the throne.
Yeah, dude. When Varys said
also
that,
with him having the best claim.
Yeah.
And then I think, like you said early in the season, at some point Ned said those who don't want power are best suited to it or something like that. So it's just like, it's cyclical and, it's...
Yeah, I mean, he got thrust into the Night's Watch commander position, too.
Yeah, like, he didn't want it, but he was best suited to do it, so far as, like, the narrative goes anyways.
God, dude, he's so young. It seems like this whole time. Like, in my head, I think he's, like, 19. Yeah, he might be older. He's
so far as the show has gone on, maybe he's like in his early 20s or something like that. But how old was Robert Baratheon whenever his rebellion happened?
That's fair. I mean, and kids are crazy talented and stuff too. So I mean, like, especially in a world where like that's like the prime age, like.
That's also the thing is, in general, those people at that time died like in their 40s.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, young 20s is probably where he's at,
That would be my guess.
Perfect, yeah. So, I mean, I don't really know where I was going with that. It's just
yeah. I mean, so that's the obvious answer. Hopefully, it's not obvious. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, something different happens. I still think that Sansa lives through it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought she was going to be queen.
I don't think she'll be queen.
But I don't think
so. Because I don't think she wants to be. She's not going to want to go down south.
Well, I don't think it makes sense anymore. Yeah, even in my head, it made sense because Jon was dead. Like, I don't think Jon's going to die anymore. I think he's going to live. I think Tyrion is probably going to die.
I think it would be weird for Jon to die twice. Is the only reason I don't think he's going to die.
That's a good point. I think you're right with that.
They could still kill him, and I would be fine with it. But I don't think that they do. It just seems weird for them to kill him twice.
I'm excited for it to be wrapped up now. Like now after being kind of disappointed last episode, I'm not gonna no matter what happens next week. I'm not gonna let it disappoint me. I'm just gonna let it be like, all right, this is the ending. Let's be happy with it. Let's just enjoy it and be happy. Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna let it bother me how it ends. But I was disappointed last episode just because I wanted all these twists and big grandest things to happen, but or grandiose things. But none of that happened. So it was just all right, well, that's how it is, So now just enjoy it for what it is. And looking back on it, as far as episodes go, this is the one that had the most stuff. I don't know if it was my favorite episode of the season.
It was definitely the most critical.
Yeah,
I think. And maybe I even shouldn't even say definitively. I should just say that I think it was the most pivotal one.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I agree. I think
even though we could see it from a mile away that Dany was going to become the bad guy, she becomes the bad guy. And not only does she become the bad guy, everybody watches her become the bad guy. So Jon now questions everything. Tyrion now questions everything. Arya, while she was on the fence, now has a reason to have become radicalized against her. And with her being her little, kind of shadow ninja self, she doesn't have any one that she has to answer to. She can just stealth in and kill Dany or whatever it is that she's going to end up doing. So all the most important players have seen Dany become the bad guy, and I think that's why it's the most important episode.
Yeah, I think I agree. I do think that this is the most important episode, and feelings aside, now that I'm looking at it objectively, because really, who am I to judge what they had to do? That was so hard to write that.
That's the thing is that they are limited by the fact that they don't have the source material, but they have the ending.
Right.
So they have to get to the ending somehow.
Yeah,
and they couldn't have ever done it in the way that the original author would have.
Or in any of the crazy ways.
It's not fair to expect it of them.
Yeah.
It's just... The nature of it is that they're out of source material, and that just sucks, and it's not anybody's fault except for Martin's for not having finished it.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, if they did do a crazy twist ending like what I was thinking, and it still ended up being the same thing, the same ending, the same person sitting on the throne in the end, but it was a fun twist to get there. If Martin didn't write it that way, then there would be this big argument, the book was not as good as the fun twist ending in the show. How did they, and there's always going to be those people that are bitching and moaning, but I think that maybe with a little bit more of a straight shot, I don't want to say see-through, but a bit more of a straight shot ending, I think that maybe it'll leave a little bit more room for there to be some sort of kind of twist in the book. They're probably... Maybe the twist will be just the fact that we see Dany go crazy, and that'll be a twist because it won't make it'll be so much more bizarre than it was in this, because we did see it kind of coming a mile away. But maybe in the book it'll feel oh, maybe she could be queen, and then we'll see it happen, and I'm like, oh nope, she, But so I feel there is some room for a big twist maybe to happen in the book. It probably won't be, it'll probably be very similar to what we saw on screen, but. There's going to be a lot more input just because we'll be in their head. So
that's the thing is we'll get more context.
We'll
be more earned.
Yeah, it might just
the results
will
be earned, whereas this is just they have to get there before the season is done.
Yeah, and I think by being in their head and being with them, that's a great way to say that. We'll have earned the ending, even if it is this cookie cutter kind of ending that I'm complaining that it is. It'll feel more deserved, and I mean, and thinking back on it now, I was whining about the episode. It wasn't bad. It was good. I mean, I'm sure I'll rewatch the season and be like, oh my God, so much happened. Like, looking back, it's good. You know, I enjoyed it. But just the first time through, I was just like, man, none of my fun things happened. And it was all just
it's just where the wheels fell off for you.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
So this was your moment. My moment was like episode 1 last season. So
yeah.
I was kind of over it. I think, and it's 2 years ago, so I don't fucking remember, but I think I was totally off the wagon by episode 3 last season.
Well, I'm back on the wagon now. I'm going to be excited for the next episode. Whatever happens, like, I'm not going to hit it negatively. I'm just going to watch it and be like, yes,
I've just accepted that it's not as good as it used to be. And that's fine.
And that's fine. Right. It's fine.
They're doing the best that they can with what they have. And that's, again, like I said, not anybody's fault except for the author who didn't finish the book.
Dude, and it's not like
and even that, like, I don't care. Like,
and it's not like the show isn't going to go down as in history as one of the greatest shows, like, of this generation. You know what I mean? Like, even if it pisses a bunch of people off with the ending. I mean, Harry Potter probably pissed a bunch of people off with the ending, but that was still a monumental saga of that was an era of our lives, the Harry Potter era, when we were waiting for things to end, things to happen. And this is a big era of our lives too, in my opinion. You know, we're waiting for all these things to happen, and it won't actually be over until the books are done, because we're the big fans that have read the books as well. So for us, the ending of the era will be when Martin finishes, whereas for Harry Potter it ended with the movies, because that was a bit more timely and it worked out a little better. But that was probably scary for Rowling. She's like, I'm not going to let them finish without me, because she was I felt like she was 3 books ahead, and then 2 books ahead, and then a book ahead. And I was like, they're catching you.
Well, Deathly Hallows was such a task of bringing all the strands together. There's so much that gets revealed and finally tied together that you never expected would get tied together.
And she created the whole thing with all the, like, they gave us Horcruxes in book 6, and then she hit us with the new, like, the tri-wizard weapons.
The Deathly Hallows.
Yeah, the Deathly Hallows, the name of the book, dumb. But
there was a lot of crafting that went into that last book, and so it is not surprising that it took her as long as it did to write it, or for the movies to catch up in the fashion that they did.
But yeah, I mean, I think this will go down in history as like a monumental.
It's a huge cultural touchstone,
and it's changed media too. Like, I mean, people are ready to binge watch, and like, they take seasons of things now, and they'll take books, right, and rather than make them a movie, they'll make them into season-long epics like Game of Thrones. And now it's like a common thing. People are ready to watch long-form media when it's something like this, something this, they want people to put the time and money into it. And Game of Thrones kind of changed that. So I think, I mean, obviously it did a lot of great things. Like, I think it's going to be, like, I'm excited now for next
there's
week.
Definitely other shows that have been great before Game of Thrones existed. Things like The Sopranos and
I mean, I never saw
The Wire. There are other shows that, are these huge, high quality shows that existed before Game of Thrones. But Game of Thrones really did show that TV is going to be the place for thorough and well done storytelling. It doesn't have to be a movie anymore.
Right.
And it can, in fact, be done better as a show because you're inherently giving yourself more time to tell the story as opposed to 90 minutes.
Yeah, and there was a big stereotype.
Although Endgame was like 3 hours.
Yeah. There was a big stereotype, too, with things being like, oh, well, that's a TV movie, like...
Yeah, now it's... Well, and HBO as a whole has made TV prestige because The Wire was HBO. But Game of Thrones is what popularized it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, dude, there hadn't been a show before that like crashed the internet because so many people tried to watch it at the same time.
Right.
Like that's
it happened at the same time that the advent of streaming became a thing.
Yeah,
and HBO has its own streaming service where you don't even have to have cable to then have the HBO package. You can just get HBO now.
Yeah,
and not have any cable and be tuned in to this worldwide phenomenon.
And that's a good way to say it. It really kind of was a worldwide phenomenon, and it will be next week.
That was one of the main reasons that I wanted to start watching Game of Thrones 5 years ago, because there was this global conversation that was happening, and I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, that's a great thing. Yeah, dude, Bailey's mom watched all of it in like 2 weeks.
It's let's see, before this season started, because this was episode 72. Right? Or was it 73? Either way. So there was like 67, 66 episodes to be watched. Yeah, you could totally do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, she just...
I have to watch multiple a day, but you can totally do that in 2 weeks.
Yeah, she crushed it. She hit it so fast. It might have even been faster than that, but she watched so much of it just back to back, and she's all caught up and watching the finale with the world. I was like, wow. It's all fresh for you.
Right. I kind of wish that I had watched it over again, but I was still in such a disappointment mode from the previous season that I was just like, I just don't fucking care. I just want this to be over.
Oh, yeah.
Now the only reason, and I think more than anything, the only reason I wanted to have watched it all again was for the purposes of this podcast.
Yeah.
Just so that I could remember more details that might be able to contribute to the conversations that we have. But it probably doesn't actually matter as much as I want it to.
I mean, yeah, it's not like... I don't think they rewatched it. Like,
yeah, I know.
I think
there's a Game of Thrones podcast that I listened to, and one of the things that they said at the beginning of this week's episode was, I want to know when the last time Benioff and Weiss watched their own goddamn show. Because they don't seem to care about anything that has happened in the past.
No, that's a great... Yeah. That's so funny.
Another funny thing they said this week was Dracarys, dead Varys.
Dead Varys.
I thought that was really funny. That was a funny joke. But, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be over soon. And like I've been saying this whole season, I'm just excited for it to finally be over. And we can just end it.
The end of the era.
Just put this thing down.
Put it down. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I hope the dragon runs away. That'd be cool. If there was still a dragon in the Seven Kingdoms. And if he became Smaug, and then it ties into Lord of the Rings. I'm just kidding.
Sam Cannon.
That would be
awful.
That doesn't make sense, because Smaug is red. Drogon is black.
That's what makes no sense about it. That's the one thing.
Man. Stupid.
It would be about as good as the rest of the show so far.
Yeah, man.
Anyways, I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts of this week?
Not really. Yeah, I'm going into next week positive. I'm excited for the ending. Like, I'm excited to see what they did for the ending. Like, I bitched and moaned a lot for this episode. I would say uncharacteristically of me, because I was so positive with the rest of it. But I'm ready now. I'm positive again. I'm ready for this episode.
You got the toxin. You got the poison out.
Yeah, just like
now
the
you
episode,
can just,
it's all over.
You're fresh again, more or less.
Yeah.
Fresh with a new perspective, having had a brush with death.
Yeah, and then dude, the end. You just gotta watch the ending with, like, you can't be pissed off watching the ending of Game of Thrones, man. You can't end the era angry.
Can't go to sleep angry.
Right? Yeah.
Let me tell you, you can go to sleep angry. I do it all the time.
I choose not to.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see how this ends. Like you said, it's going to be big because it's Game of Thrones. Whether or not it's great by virtue of being Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. And it's been such an important franchise and show for such a long time in media and culture that it will be remembered just by virtue of it being what it is.
Oh yeah, and it'll be constantly referenced. It'll be one of those things, just like how when you said The Sopranos earlier, like, I've never seen an episode, but I know it as, you know, in the epic of its era, you know.
Maybe it ends in the middle of a sentence like The Sopranos does.
That'd be awesome.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
All I care about anymore is Sansa. Sansa's just awesome.
Yeah.
Ever since she started making her own clothes and they were all just jet black, I was like, I'm on board with this bitch.
All right, let's go.
We're good to go. Well, all right, so we'll see y'all next week with the final episode. And we're going to see y'all on Wednesday with this new book that we started, Scythe.
I've been liking it, dude. It's cool.
I'm into it. Cool. Yeah, it's got me engaged.
Dude, I think this is going to be kind of a quick read. Like, I'm excited that it's been good.
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
Well, we're doing it in 3 parts. So
yeah,
I think, it's got me engaged. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'm like 100% hooked yet. I think that I don't care necessarily about any of the characters yet. But I'm definitely engaged and I'm interested to see where it goes.
I like the universe and the world. Like,
that's more than I could say about other things.
For sure.
So anyways, we'll see y'all with all that shit. I'm Will Hedrick.
I'm Jordan Schaffer.
And this Doggers and Timestamps. Go Bruins.